Hi, Scorpio, and welcome to your April 2024 horoscope. April has a lot planned for all of us. This is because we have a solar eclipse, we have Mars conjunct Saturn, and we also have Jupiter conjunct Uranus, which is actually something that happens only once every 14 years. So let's get into some more details so that you are up to date on what you can expect during the month ahead. On April 3rd, Venus conjuncts Neptune in Pisces in your fifth house. Venus and Neptune together is a really wonderful energy. It's a really loving energy. And it's a type of unconditional love that transcends boundaries, that's more about a spiritual type of love that understands that we are all human, that we're all connected. And it's quite interesting to have this aspect happening in your fifth house, Scorpio, because I really see it as you directing this type of energy to your inner child. And it really sounds like a beautiful healing moment for yourself at the beginning of April, to get in touch with your inner child and to give it all of this unconditional love and acceptance. On April 5th, Venus enters Aries, or your sixth house, and as it does that, it sextiles Pluto in your fourth house. In case you missed it, I did a whole live broadcast talking all about Pluto, going through Pluto in all of the 12 houses. So if you want to get a more detailed look at what Pluto in your fourth house means for you, then I'll leave the card right here. However, in the context of this video, in the context of April, Pluto in your fourth house is really trying to teach you the meaning that you can have in your life when you connect to your roots, when you connect to your family, to the place that you live and your home. And this sextile that's happening between Venus in your sixth house and Pluto, it's almost as if there's a part of your routine that helps you establish a better foundation for yourself. A part of your routine that involves, hey, I'm going to take 5 minutes every morning just to clean up the home before I go to work. Or a part of your routine that includes calling your family members, or a part of your routine that includes researching your ancestry, for example. On April 8th, there's a solar eclipse in Aries in your sixth house. The solar eclipse is a new moon, which means that both the sun and the moon are in Aries. The sun and the moon are in the decan ruled by the sun, which actually, the way I interpret the eclipse because of this is that we might be acting more out of ego during this eclipse than out of our genuine selves. So just be careful not to say things that could maybe damage your relationships, for example. And the reason I especially say that is because Mercury is retrograde during this eclipse. So there's already a higher chance that what we say can be easily misinterpreted by others. And for you, especially Scorpio, this solar eclipse is happening in your sixth house. So it's almost as if there's a new start, a new beginning in regards to your routine and in regards to the way you take care of your physical self as well. On April 10th, Mars is conjunct Saturn in your fifth house. Mars in your fifth house wants you to plan all of the amazing activities, wants you to plan a pottery class and a surfing class, and wants you to go out every night to go dancing. But because it's conjunct Saturn, your ideas and your actions might not come to fruition. Saturn might put a stop to them or slow them down. And this can feel quite frustrating, especially because it's happening in your fifth house, and it doesn't always feel very natural to have Saturn in your fifth house. Keep in mind that Saturn doesn't say you cannot get to your final destination. It just says that you need to re-examine how you get there. On April 17th, Venus is conjunct the North Node in your sixth house. Venus is conjunct the North Node at almost the exact same spot that we had our solar eclipse. So I really see this day as a moment to reflect on what happened during the solar eclipse. It might be less emotionally charged than the solar eclipse was. So in that sense, you should have the space that you need to look back, reflect, and to be able to really look at what happened objectively. On April 20th, Jupiter conjuncts Uranus in your 7th house or in the sign of Taurus. One thing to keep in mind about this conjunction is that the Sun has also just entered Taurus, or your 7th house, and that Jupiter and Uranus, while they're conjunct, they're actually sextiling Mars in your 5th house. Jupiter has been traveling through your 7th house, Scorpio, for about a year, and it might have been giving you lots of wonderful gifts with your partnerships, perhaps making it super romantic and easy to connect with your loved one. However, Uranus has also been traveling through your 7th house and for much longer than Jupiter has. So it's possible that you have also experienced the highest of highs when it comes to your relationships and also the lowest of lows. And the Mars and Jupiter conjunction, it's almost like the epiphany that comes to you when you're able to really look back on everything that both Jupiter and Uranus has brought in your relationships, to look at both of them together and to be able to understand and shift the way you show up in relationships from here onwards. Just a day later, the Sun moves about a degree more into the sign of Taurus and then squares Pluto. And because this is a square that's happening between your 7th and your 4th house, it could be on this day that there is some tension between your home life and your love life. That, perhaps even your partner requires time and attention from you, but there's things happening with your family or literally in your physical home that also require time and attention from you. And there can be a little bit of friction between the two on this day. On April 24th, there's a full moon in Scorpio in your 1st house. The Sun is in your 7th house in the sign of Taurus. This full moon could bring a new piece of information in regards to your identity. So it could be that the way you're showing up in your relationship, perhaps something happens in your relationship that makes you realize that there's actually a part of your identity that you haven't been sharing very openly with others, that you've been hiding for whatever reason, and that you actually do want to, going ahead, really claim it and show it proudly to others. On April 28th, Mars is conjunct Neptune in your 5th house. This is, again, a really wonderful day for your inner child, and especially in taking actions that will nurture your inner child. If you, as an inner child, love to play with Barbies, buy some Barbies on this day. Like, nobody needs to know. I'm not judging. And really give yourself this beautiful moment to connect again to who you were as a child, that little you when you were growing up, and to really put in action and do things that your inner child loves to do. And finally, we close off the month on the 30th of April with both Venus and Mars going home. I know, very romantic. Venus returns to the sign of Taurus and Mars returns to the sign of Aries. After the crazy month of April, this should really feel like a breath of fresh air. It should feel like things are maybe not as challenging anymore. Not everything is turned upside down on its head, and that at least the way we express our emotions, both more easy ones and more difficult ones, comes more naturally and flows a little bit more easily as well. So Scorpio, wow, what a beautiful month of April for you. See if you can do some type of activities to get in touch with your inner child. And also, if there's anything in your day-to-day routine that you want to adjust, then April is also a great time to do that. Let me know down in the comments, like, what did you used to love to do as a child? I'd be super curious to know. Like, did you like Barbies? Did you do something else? Did you like stare out the window? Did you play with your cat? I'm really curious to know. Thank you so much for joining me for this horoscope. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to make sure that you catch the May horoscope, then make sure you subscribe. I hope to see you again soon.